bloggers in Bangladesh are running scared following a string of brutal murders. They are often seen as champions of secularism and free speech. But their outspokenness has angered religious extremists and unsettled the government. I'm Steve Chow. On this episode of 101 East, we meet the bloggers risking their lives to express their views online.
The killers struck shortly after midday. The attack was brutal and relentless. Niloy Neal died within minutes, killed inside his own home. The fourth blogger to be murdered in Bangladesh this year. Friends and family say he had been living in fear for months.
দেখা গেছে কি বেশিরভাগ ক্ষেত্রে অনলাইনে হুমকি কিন্তু খুব কমন একটা বিষয়। প্রচুর হুমকি সে পেয়েছে।
Neal had good reason to take those threats seriously. In Bangladesh, the word blogger is often associated with online activists writing about issues such as secularism and scientific thought. But with religious fervor on the rise, blogging about such issues can mean death. The first blogger killed this year was Bangladeshi-American writer Avijit Roy, who was attacked and killed at Dhaka University. He was a well-known secularist who ran a popular blog. 5 weeks later, another murderous attack. The victim this time, Washikur Rahman, a satirist who regularly criticized what he saw as irrational religious behavior. And then in May, masked men killed Ananta Bijoy Das in the city of Siliat in northeast Bangladesh. Das had contributed regularly to Roy's blog. Police have arrested several suspects and pinned the blame on a banned group known as Ansarullah Bangla Team, or ABT.
We are trying our best to arrest all of them. So I think it's a matter of time, nothing else.
I don't know if they have an idea or they don't, but I'm saying they are not getting to the root of this problem.
Blogger Shami Haq was a close friend of Niloy, and she rushed over to his apartment when news of his death started circulating on the internet. She now says she wishes she'd stayed away. What she saw there haunts her day and night.
After Niloy Neal, now also I'm scared. I can't sleep well, just imagine her dead body.
One day after the killing of Niloy Neal, Shami and her fellow bloggers and activists have taken to the streets condemning the murder. After 4 violent deaths in just 9 months and no convictions, they have strong words for the government.
আমরা দাবি জানাচ্ছি যে সরকার আগামী 7 দিনের মধ্যে এই অপরাধীদেরকে খুঁজে বের করে তারা প্রমাণ করুক যে অপরাধের সাথে এই হত্যা খুনের সাথে সরকারের কোনো সংশ্লিষ্টতা নেই।
They march into the night, vowing to keep up the pressure. For Shami, though, it will be her last public demonstration for some time. Shortly after the march, she files a police report and goes into hiding. A few weeks later, we meet Shami in a secret location. She stopped attending university, quit her job, and left her hostel.
Everyone, my friends, relatives thought that I am risky, so they didn't want to keep me in his house. So it's horrible situation. It's very weird, very weird. I can't move anywhere. I can't join any activist.
But there is one thing she hasn't given up.
Writing is also protest, strong protest. So I have to continue my protest.
Shami blogs regularly about feminism.
Why men and women are not equal? We are both are human beings. Why men and women are not equal? My parents, my friends, everywhere they're telling that this is our rules. These rules came from Islam. Their answer is not clear. In their answers have no logic.
Her posts have won her a barrage of abuse, but some comments are more sinister than others.
He write that you are a prostitute, you are a atheist, we are missing Nil or Nil, and maybe we will also missing you. He said that you born by God, but now you don't believe God, so you are cruel, you are animal, so you have to die.
Emraan Sokka is another blogger who has received numerous death threats.
They said they will slaughter me, they will kill me.
A medical doctor, he chose to give up his practice to be a blogger and an activist.
My practice, private practice, I have stopped this as because this is not safe, and my other hospital staffs don't feel this is safe.
It was February 2013 when Sokka became a well-known figure in Bangladesh after a decision by the International Crimes Tribunal. The court ruled that the leader of a religious-based political group committed war crimes during Bangladesh's fight for independence in 1971. It handed down this punishment. But for many Bangladeshis, this was too lenient. Mullah had been convicted of mass murder and rape. They believed he should pay with his life. Bloggers like Sokka called the people onto the streets, and the people responded. Protesters converged on Dhaka's Shahbag Square. It was the birth of the Shahbag movement, which quickly grew to include Bangladeshis of all stripes.
People saw there is a group, those are bloggers or those are an online activists, they can be united within hours and within days. So people think this is a power.
Their ability to mobilize was so powerful that both the government and religious hardliners sat up and took notice. As the movement grew, the activists added more demands. Among them, that Mullah's religious party be barred from politics and that the country remain secular.
We just call this state have to be separate with religion, and we demanded ban of the extreme militant group.
Then, the brutal murder of a young blogger marred the protest movement. Thousands gathered in Shahbag Square to mourn the death of 26-year-old Rajib Haider. His severely mutilated body had been found lying in a pool of blood near his home. He was the first secular blogger in Bangladesh to be hacked to death, allegedly by religious hardliners. But sadly, he would not be the last.
Right after they killed Rajib, on the next week they targeted 2 bloggers and they were wounded, but it was not on the news. I have to get habituated with this fact that in Bangladesh, if you don't believe in God, it is religious extremists' right to kill you.
Tensions continued to build. In late March 2013, local media reported the existence of the first of several so-called hit lists of secular bloggers. It had been prepared by a religious group linked to the ruling party.
And that list was given to the government as individuals' action should be taken against. Not that they should be killed, but action should be taken against.
Still, some people on the list have been killed, leading others whose names are also on it to wonder if they could be next. In April 2013, a religious group called Hefajot Islam launched its response to the Shahbag movement.
We are here to protect of the Nastic bloggers.
Hundreds of thousands of demonstrators marched on Dhaka with a list of 13 demands for the government. Among them, that atheist bloggers who insult religion be put to death.
This 6 April, government was not taking action and not just stopped them.
A month later, the group repeated its demands. But this time, things turned ugly as police moved in to break up the demonstration.
Government stopped them in 5 May when their power became challenged. Other than government patronized them.
Government estimates that 11 people died in the clashes, while human rights organizations say dozens of Hefajot supporters were killed. Two years on, Hefajot continues to stand by its demands. But the group insists it is not linked to those behind the spate of blogger killings. Neither, it says, is it connected to any of the so-called hit lists. It says it's the victim of a smear campaign.
ইসলাম সবসময় বলে যে কোনো অপরাধী করুক সে অপরাধের বিচার করবে রাষ্ট্র সেই অপরাধের বিচার করবে আইন বিভাগ
Islam is the state religion of Bangladesh. Among its population of 160 million people, more than 90% are adherents of the faith. But secularism is also enshrined in the country's constitution. Attacks on bloggers have led many to ask if this is now under threat. The country's law minister disagrees. Instead, he offers up this piece of advice.
Freedom of expression should be used or expressed in such manner that it does not infringe or hurt other people's rights or conscience. Therefore, I would say that if everybody acts responsibly, in that case, I guess such kind of crime will come down.
Meanwhile, the Bangladesh government appears to be meeting one of Hefajot's demands. It's using a controversial piece of legislation to rein in what it sees as bad behavior online. But critics say the law is too widely drawn.
That it allows the government to arrest people for almost anything if it's depending upon how the law is interpreted.
Blogger Rasul Pervez remembers the night he was arrested for contravening this very law.
When they handcuffed me, I thought like, okay, something is really bad now.
An early supporter of the Shahbag movement, Pervez blogs mainly about science and ethics. Currently out on bail, he faces up to 14 years in prison if he is found guilty of hurting religious feelings.
Government tried to soothe Hefajat Islami by arresting us, and Hefajat Islami did not buy. Which one do you like? It's all in Japanese, so.
For his own safety, Pervez left Bangladesh a year ago.
After the incident in April 2013, there were an attempt to kill other bloggers, and there are huge list of bloggers to be executed. And my family members are really worried about me.
He feels safe in Japan, but Pervez says it's not home.
It's like you can only take a small amount of you with you. You have to leave rest of yourself in Bangladesh. This is the case when you leave the country you born in.
His days revolve around his lab and his beloved science.
It's really difficult to go outside because you can't read Japanese, you can't speak Japanese, and you don't know where you want to go.
Alone in a room full of wires and machines, he's unsure what the future holds and when he can go back to his loved ones. He's been punished, exiled for sharing his views on science and religion. Thousands of miles away in the United States, the wife of murdered blogger Avijit Roy is also learning to adapt to life on her own.
The last letter that I wrote to him was on the Valentine's Day this year. It was a couple of days before we went to Bangladesh.
Rafita Ahmed Bonner remembers very little of the night her husband was killed on the streets of Dhaka earlier this year.
We were holding hands and walking and talking, making jokes. I don't remember anything from there on. I was soaked in blood. And I was having concussions back and forth. And I remember different conversations and different things. And I was repeatedly asking that if Avijit was still alive. I don't know if these are the two books which actually have the worst controversies.
Roy wasn't just a blogger. He was a respected author who wrote about religious intolerance, science and atheism. Bonner was his editor.
You know, when I'm not sinking into my grief of losing him, sometimes I think, wow, you know, what a kind of a fulfilled life that he lived in such a short time. He wrote almost in the introduction of every book that I was the biggest critique and meanest critique of his books. So the other day, and he was very messy too, so the other day I found a pile of printouts that he used to give me after he finished a chapter. You can actually see my mean comments and edits all over it. He used to laugh about it. He was like, you know, say whatever you want to say. I will take what I want to take. It's my writer's prerogative.
If the killers wanted to silence her husband's work, they failed. Bonner continues to produce Mukto Mona, or Free Mind, the website she founded with her husband. It was started as a platform for secular writers to share their views in Bengali, but now she's hoping to turn it into something even bigger.
It's about time that we do engage ourselves in exhaustive research on how a country like Bangladesh, with a unique history of secularism, though we had Muslim majority, can actually sink under the waves of religious fundamentalism.
It's been more than 9 months since Roy's death, but Bonner says she knows very little about the investigation into his murder.
Nobody from Bangladeshi government or the authorities or the law enforcement have ever contacted me.
Then, suddenly on the 18th of August, police announced a breakthrough in the investigations into the killing of Roy and fellow blogger Ananta Bijoy Das. 3 suspects were paraded before the media. British citizen Tawhidur Rahman was singled out as the mastermind and financier of the murders. Police said they had detained him a day earlier. Journalist David Bergman met Rahman's sister shortly after news broke of his arrest. She told him something disturbing.
He had been arrested, he'd been picked up by law enforcement authorities and kept in secret detention for a number of months before suddenly the police put him before the media, claiming that in fact he had been arrested the day before.
2 months on, Nasera Begum's story remains unchanged. She insists her brother disappeared from their home in May, not August.
May 28th, when I received my mother's phone telling me that somebody is taking my brother.
She says that for 3 months she had no information about her brother, and then in August, relatives called to tell her they'd seen him on the news.
They showed him like a guinea pig, and everybody was crying that time seeing him in the television.
Nasera says her brother suffers from bipolar disorder.
This is lithium, because the depression and mania is going up and down. It is very bad for the patients. So this is mood stabilizer.
She's trying to get this medication to him, but doesn't know if the police will help. Attempts to reach other people for support have also been unsuccessful.
Everybody knows by this my name, so everybody shuts the door in my face.
Despite the arrests, the violence continues. Chaos at Dhaka Medical College. There's been not one, but 2 machete attacks. The victim this time isn't a blogger, but a publisher of secular books. Faisal Arifin Dipon was hacked to death in his office. Another publisher and 2 secular bloggers survived a separate attack.
আমাদের কাছে মনে হচ্ছে এটি একটি পূর্ব পরিকল্পিত হত্যাকাণ্ড। এখানে কোনো সন্ত্রাসী গোষ্ঠী অংশগ্রহণ করেছে, একাধিক হত্যাকারী ছিল।
The next day, there's yet another march by free speech activists protesting the violence. It has become an eerily familiar sight, the 5th round of protests in a single year. The bloggers can only hope there won't be a 6th. Meanwhile, many continue to seek safety elsewhere. Shami Haq is now in Germany. She arrived just before the latest attacks in Dhaka.
My mother is a very strong woman, but in airport he's crying and crying because she is my mother and she thought her daughter maybe he will never see her daughter again. So
some other Bangladeshi bloggers have also sought refuge in Germany.
how are you?
It was they who helped get her here.
Bhalo.
Ananya Azad arrived 4 months ago.
I was threatened by Islamic militants. They published my photo and they said they want to kill me.
Asif Mohoiddin has been living in Germany for 3 years. He was stabbed by religious hardliners in early 2013. He's also been jailed for insulting religion. But he insists he wants to be seen as an activist, not a victim.
In few years, I guess, Bangladesh will be another Pakistan or another Afghanistan or Iraq or Syria. If we don't take serious action now, the future of Bangladesh will be very difficult, very dark.
A new life in a new country with new challenges.
Yes, I am totally sweating. I didn't used to this weather.
Shami has to find a place to stay. She fears she may never be able to return home.
I will no go in my country. I can't do that because this situation is going to in Bangladesh is very day by day very worst.
A few days after this meeting, her name appears on a new hit list. More Bangladeshi bloggers are likely to head her way soon. Forced to flee for daring to speak their minds.